Hello, welcome to Money Chat Now. I am your host, Larry Steinhouse, and today is Wednesday, August 18th, and we're going to talk a little bit about the stock market and what happened today. I am your host, Larry Steinhouse, and Money Chat Now is brought to you by Investor Schooling. So if you'd like to take a free class, go to investorschooling.com. You can learn about real estate investing, you can learn about stock options investing, and you can learn about the stock market, and you might even meet me there, because I'll probably be there too. So go to investorschooling.com, and we'll see you Thursday night. Today we're going to be talking about how the Dow dropped again, 400 points almost. We're going to talk about the Fed report and what it means. We're going to talk about what the heck is tapering. You know, I know you guys hear this all the time, and maybe we'll talk about it, and maybe you guys will understand a little bit better. We'll also talk about the fact that Wells Fargo keeps the student loans open. Restaurants are suing Mayor de Blasio in New York City. And we're going to talk about Robinhood earnings, because Robinhood earnings is going to be fascinating today. And of course, we'll be talking about some of my favorite picks. All right, let's talk about the Dow dropping 400 points today. Actually, it was 397 points is where it dropped. It didn't quite make it to 400 points, but hey, that's pretty bad. But the Dow was up for a while. And of course, you know, what happens is everybody was looking forward to hearing what the Fed report was going to be. And when the Fed report was ugly, and it wasn't even ugly, because I'm going to talk about that in a minute. It wasn't even ugly. It just was, what's funny is sometimes I find that the stock market just does its own thing. It doesn't really care if the report's good, if the report's bad. It just does its own thing. It's like, all right, great. We heard it. We didn't even, it doesn't even matter anymore, but we're just going to sell everything off anyway because we heard it, and that's good enough for us. So let's talk a little bit about the Fed report. So the Fed report basically, it published its meeting minutes in July, revealing the central bank's discussions about the possibility of dialing back its monthly bond buying program this year. So I'm going to talk about what that means in a minute, because I think it's very important that we understand that. So since July meeting, there's been growing support within the Fed to announce a tapering in September and begin it in October. All right. So what the heck is tapering? And I think this is the problem that most of us, when we look at this stuff, you know, they use these big words like tapering. I know it's not a big word, but it's a big meaning. And that's what happens. We don't fully understand it. So let me see if I can help you to try to understand what this means. So first of all, tapering refers to policies that modify traditional central bank activities. All right, what's a central bank? Of course, that's the next question, right? A central bank is a financial institution that is responsible for overseeing the monetary system and policy of a nation or group of nations, regulating its money supply and setting interest rates. That also says a lot. But here's where you need to understand. So we have a central bank system here, and it's called the Federal Reserve. Now, what's interesting is because they use the term Federal Reserve, everyone thinks that that has something to do with the federal government. It has nothing to do with the federal government. The Federal Reserve is basically the central banking system of the United States, and it's run by a board of governors that oversees 12 regional Federal Reserve banks. So these Federal Reserve banks are basically do what the Federal Reserve says to do, or what they've all voted on to do, to help stabilize inflation and also help stabilize employment and also help stabilize interest rates. So basically, you got to understand that they have a lot of control over money and what happens to money. So a side note is the Federal Reserve Board is accountable to U.S. Congress, but not the president. So central banks, again, the Federal Reserve in this case, enact monetary policy by easing or tightening the money supply and availability of credit. Central banks seek to keep a nation's economy on an even keel. So here's what happens. So remember, everybody talks about, hey, the fact that they printed money this year to cover COVID expenses and to cover, you know, to give the stimulus and to send out the SBA and the PPA loans. Well, basically, that's really what they did. They just infused money. The central bank said, here's some more money. Do whatever you want with it. It's like monopoly money. That's why the economy is on fire right now. That's why inflation is taking off. Everything that the Federal Reserve tried to do to keep a recession from happening, which never really happened. It had signs of recession. I mean, the stock market dropping in half, which is pretty close to what it did, dropping in half scared everyone. Boy, it scared me for quite a while, I'll tell you that much. So it scared everyone. So the Federal Reserve quickly jumped in and said, okay, let's do some things to make sure that this doesn't happen. And they did too much as usual. and now we got the pendulum that's going to swing the other way. So basically what's going to happen is they're going to taper and they're going to stop doing what they've been doing. One of the things that they've been doing is they've been purchasing and accumulating central bank assets. So here's what happens. So now you have a bank that lends you money. So they have to get that money from somewhere. So they take the money from the Federal Reserve. So let's say they're going to lend you $100,000 on your house. Your interest rate is 3%. They have to borrow that money, obviously, at less than 3% to make any profit, right? So the Federal Reserve lends them money at less than 3%. Right now, it's 0 or close to 0 is what they're lending banks the money for. So now the banks get all the money in the world that they need, and they lend it out to other people like you and I. We pay the interest rates, and the bank makes money on their free money, which is fascinating to me. It's absolutely fascinating to me how this works. So the other thing that they do is they also buy assets. So they'll also buy the loans, or they'll buy bonds from the banks. And that also will cause problems, and also basically it lowers the yield, and it also increases the money supply. So and they will raise or lower the rates to the banks. So often when this all happens, something called a taper tantrum happens, and that's basically what we saw happening today. We saw that the Dow Jones drops almost 400 points today. And why does it drop almost 400 points today? Because the market has a taper tantrum. Oh boy, I don't know what's going to happen. They're tapering loans. Oh my gosh, they're not going to buy the. What should we do? I better sell. I don't know. I'm going to sell. I better sell now. Oh no, I better sell. And that's basically what happened today, and that's why the Dow closed 400 points. So here's what's probably going to happen tomorrow: is the Dow is going to go down again tomorrow. It could be one of those disaster days where it drops 500 to 800 points, but that's obviously that's the time to buy. I'm out of money, but that's the time to buy. And also it's a time to just close your account, don't look at it, and for a couple of days, because it'll all come back, or it usually comes back, and you shouldn't have to worry about it. All right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and we're going to talk about the rest of the stuff on the agenda today.
Okay, so you've thought about investing in real estate, houses, apartment buildings, properties, but don't really know where to start? Well, what if you could very easily learn how to gain strategies to use other people's money to buy and sell houses in the Philadelphia area? If you could learn and network with successful area real estate investors, and how to produce monthly income on rental properties without headaches, that place is Investor Schooling. With Investor Schooling, you'll learn from two Philadelphia area rockstar real estate investors, Phil Falcone and Larry Steinhouse, about how to buy and sell properties the easy way, and teach you basic and advanced techniques to help you make money in real estate. You can attend Investor Schooling in person or online visual classes 8 times a month. You can and will learn how to make money in real estate. Call for free information and get a complimentary pass to one of these classes. But don't delay, as these complimentary passes are limited. Call the number on your screen now or visit investorschooling.com. investorschooling.com.
All right. Welcome back to Money Chat Now. I am your host, Larry Steinhouse, and we were here talking about the fact that the Dow dropped almost 400 points today. Yikes. We also talked about the Fed report, what it meant, and we talked about the actual explanation of tapering and what that also meant. All right, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on with Wells Fargo. So if you guys know, Wells Fargo a couple of years ago was in the news for some pretty bad practices. Whatever, they tried to make some money, and they over-delivered, or they over-promised their shareholders, and they made some mistakes, and everybody says, oh, it's a terrible bank, whatever. But here's what happened recently. In July, Wells Fargo had these lines of credit that they gave to everybody. I actually have one. And they have these lines of credit, anywhere from $5,000 to $100,000 lines of credit. And they're personal lines of credit. They're unsecured personal lines of credit. And you could take this money anytime, and you could borrow it and send it back. It's almost like a credit card, but you don't need the credit card. And you just kind of write the check into your own account, or you write the check. So Wells Fargo decided in July that they were going to close all the personal line of credits. So if you had a personal line of credit and you had it with Wells Fargo, it was going to go away. Now, I was very smart. I immediately took the whole amount, because I knew that if I take the whole amount, then they can't make me pay it back the day they close it. They can make me pay it back on a payment plan, and I'm better off taking the money instead, if I need it later. So anyway, so I took it, but it was no big deal. I also was waiting to see what was going to happen, to see the available credit go to zero, and it never did. And I started seeing articles. As a matter of fact, AOC actually fought the fact that she said this is a terrible thing to do to people, and I agree with her. She said, if you do this to people, number one, it'll affect their credit score. So if you know how credit scores are calculated, your available credit affects your credit score. So if you have a lower available credit, it'll affect your credit score. So they would take away they would lower your credit score. Also, look, these people weren't late on these loans. Wells Fargo was just thinking, hey, if the economy really goes bad, maybe we should get rid of these loans just in case. So there was nothing wrong with the loans. Now, I can even understand them saying, listen, we're not going to offer them anymore, but why close the originals? So Wells Fargo, I don't know if the CEO, the board of directors, somebody said, listen, we've already been in trouble. Let's not be in trouble anymore. So they decided to not cancel them, which I thought was very smart. So I actually got a letter in the mail the other day that said they're not going to cancel my loan, and I thought that was brilliant because now they are going to get away with bad press. Now, the interesting part is I'm telling you this is my own story for you. I have not seen this story yet on the news. So I would be curious to see if it's going to show up in the next day or two. I've often sat in my class, in investor schooling, I often sat in my class, and I often tell the news before it happens. So this is just a prediction that you'll see this in the news any day, but it is reality. All right, so let's talk about New York City. Oh, New York City, it used to be my favorite place to go. And, there's a couple of people there who kind of destroyed the place. One was Cuomo, and the other one was de Blasio. So unfortunately, New York City just isn't what it is anymore. Now, de Blasio wants to make it so that if you go into a restaurant in New York City, you have to show proof of vaccination. What country is this again? I completely forgot. I think it was I don't know. But I think Florida has something called a constitution now. I don't know if the country I'm living in does anymore. But what is he out of his freaking mind? So he wants to have you show a vaccination card. So, by the way, just my advice to you, if you go into any restaurant that ever says, hey, show me your vaccination card, say, no problem, but first I want to see yours. I want to see every single person in this restaurant vaccination card, and I want to see all the patrons in the restaurant's vaccination card before I show you mine. Then I will be glad to show you mine because I just want to make sure that you're following your own guidelines. And if they are, great, then show me a vaccine card. If not, then, hey, let me in the restaurant because if you don't have one, I don't have one either. So anyway, de Blasio is facing his first lawsuit from restaurants for the executive order requiring proof of vaccination for certain indoor activities. By the way, the indoor activities are not just restaurants, they're also gyms. And these guys are seeking to file an injunction against the executive order. New York's policy went into effect Tuesday, although businesses won't face enforcement until September 13th. So now you got some people who basically are saying, yeah, do it, don't do it, do it, don't do it, whatever. The new policy, which begins on Tuesday, requires customers to show proof of at least one vaccine dose to engage in a number of indoor activities like dining, exercising, and attending performances. Employees of these venues are also required to be vaccinated. Following a few weeks transition, enforcement is slated to start September 13th. New York is the first major U.S. city to announce such a mandate, although a number of others, including New Orleans and San Francisco, have followed its lead. So basically, all the socialist countries are doing that too. All right, some people like this idea, and others are stating it's a violation of their civil rights. Look, I happen to agree that it's a violation of your civil rights. If you want to say when you walk through, hey, are you vaccinated? And a person says yes or no, that's fine. I don't even like the idea that you could do that too, but the fact that you're going to hold people off because they're not vaccinated, that's a major problem. So there's many restaurant owners that have expressed concerns about some of their workers, and they've threatened to quit if they're required to be inoculated. Now, you have to understand, this is a very tight labor market, so if it's a tight labor market, then these guys do not want their employees to quit over something like, hey, the vaccine. I mean, it's insane right now. So hopefully, I really hope they win because I think this will be a great precedent that says that you can no longer do this. I mean, we've got guys like like DeSantis, who are saying just the opposite. If you require people to wear masks, you're violating their civil rights. And here's an executive order that says you can't require people to be vaccinated. You can't require people to wear masks. And he could, at the same time, he could say, but we strongly suggest it. And that is perfect. That's what an adult American should be able to do, should be able to make up their own mind. All right, let's talk real quick about Robinhood earnings. So Robinhood earnings came in, and Robinhood revenue more than doubled to 565 million last quarter on a huge surge in crypto trading. Now, that actually surprised me. I actually didn't expect Robinhood to surge because of crypto. I actually just expected Robinhood's earnings to be very, very good. But they reported a net loss of 502 million, or a loss of 2.16 per share, with the expected loss of 487 million. And anywhere from 487 to 537 million, so they kind of lost basically what they thought they were going to lose. And they're saying that the brokerage turned a profit in the same quarter last year. All right, look, revenue surged more than 131% in the period from 244 million a year ago, and was near the high range of the company's forecast of 556 million to 574 million. So really, what's going on here now is Robinhood had to fight an uphill battle because they got some bad press about a year ago about, because of the AMC, they stopped the trading, blah blah blah. They got past it, and they did very well to get past it. So now I believe that Robinhood is going to be an awesome, awesome play. Now, I expected Robinhood to make a major move after the earnings announcement. It hardly moved at all. It moved down to $1.80, which could be anything from I don't really care to something else. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We're actually going to talk about Phil's car again. If you haven't entered the Phil's car contest, you're missing out. Go win Phil's car.
Hey, if you were listening to Investor Schooling Live today, I'm Phil Falcone, and I made the decision today on air that I'm going to be giving away this car. You want to take a look at it? Let's do it. How would you like to pop your top without ever getting out of the car? Huh? It's pretty cool. You can do it at a red light. You can do it when you see it rainy. You can actually even do it when you're driving, as long as you don't go maybe faster than 10 miles an hour. So I am giving away this car. Why? Is it because I'm crazy? Is it because I'm rich? Is it because of both? Take your pick. I don't care. Let me tell you about the car. We're going to have a contest. We're looking for real estate investors to go to our website and give us a real estate tip. And you can have people that you know vote on the site about which real estate tip is the most quality, most valuable to them. So let's just say that our contest is going to be looking for quality real estate tips and for votes. So you need to get your friends, your family, people who care about you, and real estate investors who are willing to go on the site and vote for it. And I will give you this car.
All right, welcome back to Money Chat Now. I am your host, Larry Steinhouse, and we are brought to you by Investor Schooling. Go to investorschooling.com, and you can take a complimentary class this Thursday and learn about real estate investing and stock options trading. Hey, real quick, while we were on break, I took a quick look, and I wanted to talk about some of the stocks that the meme stocks, the Robinhood stocks. And here's an interesting note that some of these stocks are actually surprising me now. So once again, now, the retail traders are now doing something different. AMD is not surprising me. NEO's not surprising me. Pfizer kind of surprised me, but here's one that surprised me is Apple. Apple is now on the list of Reddit stocks. Now, I've noticed Apple today dropped, but it dropped because the whole market dropped. So it dropped about 3.5 points, which I believe is going to come back and it's going to roar back. We talked about Apple being one of my favorite plays right now. Another one is Micron, MU. Moderna now explains why Moderna had jumped, it went to almost 500, then it went down to 400, then it went down to whatever, to 350, then it jumped back up. That explains it. That's why I would stay away from it. Sophie, SOFI, another one that I'm in that that's not doing so well is Alibaba, of course Tesla, and of course the famous AMC. So these are some stocks that they're in. You want to play it, that's great, but just know that these are going to be highly, highly volatile stocks. I also still like some of my favorite recovery stocks are still American Airlines. There's again, the cruise lines like Royal Caribbean, Carnival. And I just want to see real quick what Twitter did today, because I'm actually liking Twitter if it falls below 60. And if it does, that could be a really good play. So it keeps going down. It keeps getting closer and closer to my number, which is 60. My number is 60. If I see Twitter at 60, I think you guys should jump on it, buy the stock and or the stock option. I think there's a good play to happen here. You can actually see if you take a look at this chart. I don't know if you can see the 3-month chart, but if you can take a look at that chart, you'll actually see real quickly that this thing is at the bottom, not necessarily the bottom, but close enough to the bottom of a good range. So we're at the bottom of a good range here. Now you think about this too. Snap is higher than Twitter, and there's no way Snap is worth what Twitter's worth. So eventually somebody's going to move over to Twitter, and they're going to say, I'm going to put my money into Twitter instead of Snap. And that's basically why I think it's a really, really good play. Again, Snap versus Twitter. Snap would be the one for me to, Twitter would be the one for me to be in. Look at Snap. It doesn't make any sense. Snap is doing the complete opposite of what Twitter's doing, and Twitter is obviously the better company. First of all, I can't stand either one of them. I can't even figure out how to use either one of them. But the idea is that Twitter is obviously the more popular one, the better one, and also if you eventually looked into the details, you'll actually see that Twitter is definitely a much better value. All right. Again, thanks for watching Money Chat Now. I am your host, Larry Steinhouse. From time to time, I own some of the assets and options discussed in this show. The opinions discussed in this show are solely mine, and no one has asked me to discuss them. Thank you for watching Money Chat Now. We look forward to your continued support. Please, please, please like, share, and subscribe. Go to Investor Schooling, and you can subscribe to the Money Chat Now show. You go to Facebook, and you can subscribe to the Money Chat Now page. Thank you so much. Talk to you soon.